here, right? So 48% of salespeople, they never follow up. They do the initial approach, and 48% of salespeople never follow up at all, right? So literally, you spend your gas, right? Go out there, hot sun, and then most salespeople don't even follow up one time. 25% of salespeople make a second contact. 12% make three or more contacts, and only 10% make three or more contacts, more than three contacts. And guess what? It takes 5 to 12 follow-ups to be able to schedule a meeting. So check this out. So 2% of sales in our case, it's an appointment, right? So 2% of appointments are scheduled on the first contact. 3% are scheduled on the second contact. 5% appointments are going to be scheduled on the third contact. 10% are going to be scheduled on the fourth, and 80% of the appointments are going to be scheduled after the fifth follow-up, right? On the fifth follow-up and further. And so what does your follow-up look like? Well, so think about, Carolyn, I see you on my screen, right? So think about your prospecting this week, right? How many how many follow-ups have you done with your initial approaches that you did this week, right? And so being able to keep track, being able to make sure that we're taking good notes as to who we spoke to, who we need to speak to, when is that person available, right? So when you're prospecting, you're asking, well, he's in a meeting, when is usually the best time to contact him, right? And so they might tell you, oh, well, usually the best time to contact him is in the morning, right? And so now you know that in the morning you're going to do your follow-up, but we're gathering all this information so that we can continue to follow up with that person. And so you're making your initial contacts, and we're moving them through the pipeline, right? And we're moving them through the pipeline to follow up. And now when we go follow up, now we're going to four-corner market that area, right? And so we got to get really good at follow-ups, because fifth and on, that's when you're going to schedule the meetings, right? And so most salespeople, they don't even follow up one time. I mean, half of our sales force does not even follow up one time. And so make sure that we're not being average, right? Make sure that you know your numbers. And what happens with a lot of agents is that you might go make your 20 approaches today, right? Or on a Monday, you might go make 20 approaches. You don't get any appointments, and now you feel like, man, like, this is hard, or this is not working. It's not that it's not working. It's just that we're following the process, right? There's a process, right? And so you need to, those 20 that we prospected, now we're moving them into the second phase, right? When do we need to follow up? And that's exactly what CCLM is designed for, is to be able to help you keep track of all of this, right? And so for me, I used to try to keep it very simple. And so literally I would just do a spreadsheet, and I would make a note of everything that they told me, right? And so now I can call them, now I can separate them and see, okay, today I'm going to be working in Denton, right? So now I have my leads that are all in Denton. And so now I'm going to go follow up with those leads, and I'm going to four-corner market everything that's in that area. And so we often talk about our gold standard, right? It's 20 approaches per day, 100 per week. And so are we planning and preparing to be able to get to your 20 leads every single day? And it's not that hard, right? We overcomplicate it. We make it seem like it's a lot. But it's really not, right? If you are planning and preparing, right? Let's just say that I have 5 leads here in Euless, right? So now I'm going to make a map, right? I'm going to go stop by with those different leads, and these could be follow-ups. Most of the time they're going to be follow-ups, right? So we already know who we need to talk to. We already know who the gatekeeper is. And so now I'm going to make a plan to go visit those 5 leads, right? So I'm going to stop at that first place. I'm going to stop at that first place to follow up, right? Try to schedule a meeting, but then I'm going to four-corner market that whole area, right? What any other businesses that are in that building or around that area, I'm going to prospect, right? And so right there, you might already have 4 or 5 different approaches on that first stop. And those 20 approaches, a lot of them are going to be follow-ups as well, right? It doesn't mean 20 new approaches every day. It just means 20 approaches. Some of those are going to be second follow-ups, third follow-ups, but that counts as an approach, right? So now I go to my second follow-up, try to schedule a meeting, look to schedule a meeting with that business, and same thing, I'm going to prospect and canvas that area, right? And so it might only take 5 particular businesses that you're following up to be able to get all your 20 gold standard approaches per day. And so you want to make sure that you're planning and preparing, because that makes it easy to get to your 20. right now you've done 20 approaches. Now you can up that, right? There's nothing stopping you from making 30, 40 approaches per day if you plan and prepare correctly. And this is a numbers game, right? This is always a numbers game. And so what do your numbers look like, right? Are you making enough contacts every single day to be able to get to your sales target, right? If you're making five approaches per day, that's not going to get you to your goal. And so the follow-up is a huge part of what we do, right? It has to be follow-up because that's gonna, if we can't schedule meetings, then we're never going to get to the employer conversation, right? So the edge model doesn't even matter because we can't even get that far. And so what does your process look like? What does your prospecting look like? What does your plan and preparing look like? And what are you getting to your gold standard? How many approaches are you making per day? The cure all to this business is always massive prospecting. Massive prospecting, because you're going to give yourself more opportunities. And by doing enough prospecting, your skills are going to get better, right? Some of you are not scheduling meetings just because maybe your skill level is not quite there yet. And so just keep it very simple, right? When we go in there, we're just asking, who's the person that handles employee benefits that we're looking to schedule a meeting with, right? So I'm just literally asking them, who's the person that handles employee benefits? I was just looking to schedule a meeting. And so any questions? If anybody has any questions, feel free to come off of mute.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you go in there and you just ask who is the person that handles employee benefits, do you say that you're with Aflac? Because it seems that from what I'm hearing, that saying you're with Aflac is turning people, making people not want to, kind of deal with this.
I do, right? But if you're getting some of that, Robin, where you feel like
I haven't yet.
yeah.
I haven't yet. I've only gone out today, so I haven't yet, but I've heard a lot of people that have.
I mean, I wouldn't go by what other people are saying. Like, just go. I mean, I because they're gonna ask you where are you coming from, right? So I tell them up front,
and
my name is Renee. I'm with Aflac. I was just looking to see who's the person that handles employee benefits for your organization, right?
Because if you don't say something and the conversation goes on, they start to get a little wary, like, and where are you from now?
Yeah.
But if you just get that out of the way up front, I mean, be open and honest, tell them who you are. It's gonna come out, So
anybody else have a question? Okay. So let's see.
Robin and I almost got arrested today.
Oh.
Oh man, we didn't see the no soliciting sign all over the door, so we're like, I don't really look for it anyway. But this woman was like, she was on a Zoom call with somebody, and she was just, we walked in, and anyway, this guy on the phone was like, because I'm talking to headquarters right now, and they are soliciting, and then he was like, call security, and it was
Really?
actually, oh yeah, it was really bad. And so of course I'm all sensitive. I'm all like going out of there, we go on the elevator. I'm like, oh my God. And Robin's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like brushed it off. But yeah, we went to a ton of places today, and that was the only time that happened. So
yeah, I mean, if you put yourself out there enough, I mean, you're gonna, just like you find those kind of people, you're gonna find good people as well.
Oh yeah.
And you can't take it personal. I mean, I don't know if I've shared this story with you guys, but I remember when I was in Laredo, I was prospecting. I was doing phone prospecting, and I had my spreadsheet, and I'm calling on businesses, right? So I'm calling, and literally, like what you see on the screen, this is what I will tell them, right? So, hey, good morning. My name is Renee. I was looking to see who I can speak to that handles employee benefits, right? And so, I'm making my calls, right? I'm doing my follow-ups, and I'm literally burning through all the leads, right? I'm just calling. And then I got this one lady, and she's like, where are you calling from? I'm like, oh, I'm from Aflac. No, stop calling here. Don't be calling anymore. And she hung up on me. And I was like, whoa, like I was kind of taken back. Like man, it kind of threw me off a little bit. And so So man, I remember I even had to take a break. I went, I got some coffee, like just to kind of shake it off. And so I was so shook that in the afternoon when I went back to making my calls, I didn't even put notes for that particular lead. And I ended up calling again in the afternoon. And as soon as she answered, I could tell that it was that same lady. Um, and she answered and she's like, "Where are you calling from?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm Renee. I was just looking to see who I can speak to that handles employee benefits." And she's like, "From where?" And I'm from Aflac. She's like, "Oh, insurance." I'm like, "Yeah, who can I speak to?" She's like, "Well, you can speak to me." And so I went in on my script, right? Like, so, we offer an employee benefits program, and boom, she gave me a meeting. And I go to the meeting, and it was a small account. I think it was like 5 employees, but I ended up closing that account. But my point is that it wasn't personal. Like, right, you call somebody or you show up, and they might be pissed off because somebody didn't show up to work. They might be having a bad morning. They had a flat, and they have all these things going on, and you show up at that time, and they're not open to what you're telling them. Well, it's not that they're not interested. It's not that they don't like you. It's just sometimes you catch people at a bad time, and so you can't take that personal. And so I learned that lesson because like literally um had I remembered to update my leads, I would have taken it off and I never would have called it. But I end up forgetting to do it. I call and I'm like, "Oh shoot, it's that lady again." But it's not that she wasn't interested the first time. It's just when I called her, it was probably a really bad timing. And so just keep that in mind, right? And that again, that's often very difficult, especially for new agents, in that new agents tend to take that personal, and it's not personal. They don't know who you are, right? They don't know that Carolyn, that you're such a great person, and everybody likes to hang out with you. They don't know, right? You're literally just we're in the business of interrupting people's day. That's what we do. We're in the business of interrupting people's day. But just know that when you're going to interrupt their day, you're not, we're not selling whatever, right? We're not in there selling uh a gadget or anything like that. We're selling something that could help their employees, right? And so go in there knowing that you're here to help them, right? I'm not here to sell you something. I'm here to try to help you. And so what does that script sound like? And again, if you guys don't have a copy of this, shoot me an email and I'll forward this to you. But I literally, whether I'm calling or whether I walk in, all I'm doing is I'm asking the gatekeeper who I can speak to, right? So I might walk in, Carolyn, I see on my screen, right? And so I walk in, I'm like, "Good morning. My name is Renee. I'm a benefits advisor with Aflac. I just stopped by to see who I can schedule. I was looking to see who I can schedule a meeting with that handles employee benefits." And so they might tell me, like on the script here, you say, "Oh, well, that would be Mark Davis," right? And so if I'm on the phone, I said, "Well, can you transfer me?" If I'm in person, I say, "Oh, I just stopped by to see if I can get on his schedule for a few minutes. Is he available?" Right? And so there's usually a few different objections that you'll get. And so they might ask you, "Well, where are you calling from?" Or where are you from? And I'll say, "Oh, I'm a benefits advisor with Aflac." And I'll go right back into the script. "I'm a benefits advisor with Aflac. I just stopped by to see who I could speak to as far as employee benefits," right? And they might ask you, "Well, what do you mean benefits? Like, what does that mean?" And so here's what I tell them. I say, "Oh, well, we offer a benefits program that helps protect your employees in case they get sick or hurt." I'm not going to say a whole lot to the gatekeeper because that gatekeeper is not the person I want to talk to, but they'll ask you that because they want to find out, okay, well, who is that person that they need to talk to? So they want to understand what it is that you're here for, right? And so I literally just handle it, right? So we offer benefits program, protect your employees in case they get sick or hurt. Who would I need to speak to? And by the way, in the sales game, in the sales world, you always have to ask a question, right? So that they might come at you and say, "Oh, well, you know what? Whatever they throw at you, right? Oh, well, we had somebody come in here the other day, or, I'm not really sure if he would be interested in benefits." And so you just handle that and you ask a closing question, right? And so in this case, you're trying to get in front of the decision maker. So my closing question is basically just, can you see if he has a minute to greet me? Or can you transfer me, please? Right. And so I handle the objection and then I ask a question, right? You always have to ask a question, right? It's like It's like they're throwing you the ball, you catch it, you answer, and then you throw it back at them, and you force them to answer the question, right? A few notes here, right? So always ask questions, right? Obviously respectfully, right? And the question is always, who can I speak to that oversees benefits for your company? Always present yourself as a consultant or an advisor instead of an agent, right? Because when somebody thinks an agent, they think salesperson. And so we want to paint a picture of a consultant or an advisor. And so I used to always use benefit advisor, right? And so if that person is not available, right? If you walk in, and we've already said most meetings are going to be scheduled after the fifth follow-up. But when you go in there, if they're not available, you're trying to gather that data, right? Who's the person I need to talk to? What's the name of the receptionist? When is the best time to call? What is the best way to get in contact with that decision maker, right? Is it email? Is it phone call? Is it in person? And by the way, when you're following up, it's got to be different ways to follow up, right? It just can't be phone call, or in-person visit. You want to mix it up, right? Because people communicate different, right? There's some people that if you call them on the phone, they'll never answer your phone, but then you shoot them a text and they'll answer your text. I have a lot of people who it's hard for me to get them on the line, but if I shoot them an email, they'll answer my email, right? And so everybody's a little different as to how they communicate. And so you have to find different ways to communicate to see what works best for that particular decision maker, right? So we're following up. What do we say once we get in front of the decision maker? I'm glad you asked, right? So let's just say that I'm calling them on the phone, right? And so they finally transfer me to the person I need to talk to. In this case, Mark Davis, right? And so one of the first things that I do is I confirm that he's the person I need to talk to, right? And so, if Mr. Davis comes on the line, so, hey, thank you for taking my call. My name is Renee. I'm a benefits advisor with Aflac. I was looking to see who I can speak to that handles employee benefits, right? And so if that's the right person, well, normally they're going to tell you, oh, well, yeah, that would be me. So I basically just tell them, look, I was just, I was just looking to see if you'd allow me 10, 15 minutes on your schedule, right? Because we're not trying to get a half an hour or an hour, but people can give you 15 minutes, right? So I just say, I was trying to get on your schedule 10, 15 minutes to give you a brief overview or a benefits program. I don't want to give them this huge presentation. I just want to give them a brief overview as to what we do. Our program is at no cost to you. And it basically helps your employees in case they get sick or hurt, right? It also helps your business in that it helps you to attract and retain key employees. It's a program that may or may not be for you, Mr. Business Owner, but I was looking to see if you had some time on your schedule where I can give you that brief overview. Would you have some time Thursday, right? Or whenever you're looking to schedule the meeting. But again, the key is that you ask a question, right? You can stumble through all of these scripts, right? But if you ask a question, you give yourself a chance to schedule a meeting, right? And so again, we offer a program that's at no cost to you. It protects your employees in case they get sick or hurt. For you as a business owner, it helps you to attract and retain key employees. Now, it may or may not be a fit for your company, but I was just looking to see if I can get on your schedule 10, 15 minutes. I'll show you how the program works, and then you can judge for yourself. What does your day look like on Friday morning? Do you have time on Friday morning, right? And they might tell me, oh, well, you know what, Friday I'm not available. It would have to be next week. So now I suggest, well, how about Tuesday? Oh, well, you know what? Yeah, Tuesday might be a little bit better. Well, is it better? Would you prefer in the morning or afternoon? What's usually the best time? And then I'll suggest a time. Well, how's 9 o'clock on Tuesday? Perfect. So, and by the way, it's not an appointment unless it's on your schedule and on their schedule. Okay. If they tell you, oh yeah, just come on Tuesday at any time, that is not an appointment. It's literally, you got to nail down a time that's on their schedule and on your schedule. And so that's all I do, right? I just ask them for 10, 15 minutes. I let them know that it's a program that's no cost to them or cost neutral, right? And by the way, once we get into that meeting, I'm going to give them the option to pay for this, right? They're going to have that option. But we know that they also have the option to offer it on a voluntary basis at no cost to them. So I'll literally tell them up front, it's cost neutral to you, or it's at no cost to you. And what it does, it protects your employees in case they get sick or hurt. As a business owner, the program's also designed to help you retain and attract better people. It may or may not be for you, right? So I drop the rope. And I tell them, it may or may not be for you, but I was just looking to see if I can get on your schedule. I'll show you how the program works, and then you could judge for yourself, or you can see for yourself if it might be a fit for your company. How's tomorrow morning? I know you're busy. What is your how's your morning tomorrow? Right. And so now I'm asking a question. Now I can close on an appointment. And a lot of times we go in there, we don't ask for the meeting, right? You have to ask for the meeting. And so again, you might stumble over all of this, but if you ask a question, now you give yourself an opportunity to schedule a meeting. And so literally that's all it is, right? We offer a program that's at no cost to you. I was just looking to see if I can get on your schedule 10, 15 minutes, show you how the program works. It protects your employees in case they get sick or hurt. For you as a business owner, it helps you to attract and retain key employees. It may or may not be for you, but I was looking to see if you would allow me on your schedule 10, 15 minutes. What does your day look like tomorrow? What does your schedule look like tomorrow? And now I'm closing on an appointment, right? And if he tells me, well, yeah, you know what, anytime tomorrow, that's not an appointment, right? So now I'm going to suggest, well, and it also based on your schedule, right? Maybe you're only available in the morning. And so I'm going to suggest the time. Well, how's 10 o'clock tomorrow? 10 o'clock, perfect. And now they'll literally see me putting it in my phone right there. Perfect. So tomorrow, 10 a.m. Awesome. Thank you so much. I look forward to meeting with you. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And so I'll literally say it back to them so that they remember. And so that's all we're looking to do, right? We're looking to schedule meetings. If you can schedule, you're trying to schedule at least one per day, right? In the beginning, when you're prospecting, making initial approaches, you might go 2-3 days without scheduling a meeting, right? But as your leads start to get into the follow-up process, you're going to begin to close on more and more appointments, right? But you got to get them through the sales process. You got to get them through the pipeline. And so that's when the follow-up becomes very important. And so questions on any of this? If you have a question, just come off mute.
I have
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, awesome.
So, when we were in the training, I'm in the training this week. When we were in the training, he was just saying, like, when you go in there, don't use the word benefits. And I'm just like, how do you not use the word benefits? Because that's what we're offering. Obviously we don't want to, sell them on the whole process, because that's like more of the DM and, portion, when we have that meeting with them. But I guess it kind of threw me off with using the word benefits. And then also he said, don't use the benefits. And
So what do they suggest that you use?
I really don't know. I had a role play that I did, and I did really good on it. But I was gonna say benefits, and I stopped myself, and he saw that I stopped myself, and I said something else, and I don't remember what I said. But probably I don't know
If
because it's kind of hard not to use
if it
that.
was Downs, then he's probably referring to talking about solutions that we can offer the business, because he's big on not coming in and saying benefits. So his focus has been on how we can bring, healthcare insurance solutions to your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so again, right? Everybody's gonna have a little bit different way of doing it, right? I use the word benefits because it helps people understand a lot easier, right? If I come and I say solutions, this is the gatekeeper that we're talking to, right? They like, what solutions? Like, what does that even mean? Like, I'm trying to help you to tell you who you need to speak to, but if we can't help them understand what we're trying to do or what we're offering, it's hard for them to, and so for me, benefits is always something that people easily understand. Now, when you're out there, right, if you find that when you're using the word benefits and that's not getting you results, well then, hey, you can switch it up. But the important thing is that you know where you're going, right? And so they could take you all over the place, but your goal is to schedule a meeting, right? Your goal is to find out who that decision maker is, right? And so whether you're using benefits, now what you don't want to use is insurance, right? And you guys already probably learned this by now. You don't want to use the word insurance because I'm sorry?
I can see it through my glasses.
What was that? anyways, what you don't want to do is use the word insurance, right? Because you don't know what their
Bad luck.
perception is of insurance, right? And so they could, insurance might paint a picture of like this medical insurance that's super expensive, or you say insurance and they think, oh, well, I already have insurance through my spouse. And so definitely you don't want to use the word insurance. But for me, I found that benefits really help them understand what it is that we're looking to do, and help them figure out who we need to speak to, right? Because again, when you go in there, you're not gonna. It's highly unlikely that you're going to schedule a meeting on that first approach, or even on that second or third approach. So I'm trying to find out who's the person that I need to talk to. And so for me, it was very easy just to say benefits, because they're gonna know, okay, employee benefits, right? They know that. And as a matter of fact, when I used to say benefits, like a lot of times the gatekeeper was interested, like, oh, really, Aflac benefits? Yeah, like now they want to help me because they want benefits for themselves. And so, but at the end of the day, right, it just keeping it simple, right? We're trying to find out who's the person that we need to talk to, when are they available, so that now we can begin to follow up, right? Now, when you do the follow up, well, now you know who to talk to, right? So when you go in there, or if you call, oh, well, you know what? I just stopped by to see Mr. Davis. Was looking to see, I was just looking to see if I can get on his schedule, right? And so now I know the name of the receptionist. I know who's the person I need to talk to. And so now I'm moving forward with my follow up. And so, for me, it was, I try to keep it as simple as possible, right? Once I get in front of that decision maker, I was just looking to see if I can get on your schedule for a few minutes. We offer a benefits program that's at no cost to you. It protects your employees in case they get sick or hurt. And for you as a business owner, the program is designed to allow you to attract and retain key employees. It may or may not be for you, but I was looking to see if I can get on your schedule 10, 15 minutes, just give you a brief overview how the program works. What does your schedule look like tomorrow morning? Or what does your schedule look like on Tuesday? And so now you're closing on an appointment. But sales 101, right? You got to ask a closing question. In this case, you're trying to close on an appointment. So you got to ask the question and give yourself an opportunity to close. And so the scripts are designed just to kind of give you an outline, right? Once you learn, once you get familiar with the prospect, and now you incorporate your personality into it. Right now, you don't, because a lot of times you feel like you sound scripted, and in the beginning you will sound scripted, right? But once you start, it starts to once you start to learn it, now you can incorporate, right, your personality into it. But at the end of the day, the goal is still the same, right? It's to close on an appointment, right? If the decision maker is not available, the goal is to gather intel. Who's the person we need to talk to? What's the best way to get in contact with he or she, right? When are they usually available, right? A lot of times you'll walk in a company and they tell you, oh, well, he's usually out in the field all day. The best time is at 8 in the morning, right? So now you know that you're making a note, right? That particular business owner, that particular decision maker has to be early in the morning, right? So maybe that's your first stop, right? At 8 in the morning, you're going to stop by and visit them. And now you're back in it, right? Now you're visiting that person 8 o'clock, you're four corner marketing. And at the end of the day, your goal is to get to at least 20 approaches per day. If you plan it, if you plan it right, I mean, that literally will take you 2 hours at the most, right? If you plan it correctly. And so, but we have to plan and prepare. We can't just, what you don't want to do is just jump on your car and just drive around, right? I'm sure all of you guys have already experienced that, right? It's not very fun when you have no idea where you're going or who you're going to go visit, right? You're just driving around. So you want to at least have a few leads, targeted leads that you've already called on, that you're following up with. That way, those can be your base points, right? So now I'm going to go visit this person. I'll prospect anything in that area or on the way. Then I'll go visit that next person, right? And so you're grouping them together, right? You're grouping them by cities, right? And so now I know that this particular day I'm going to be in Frisco, or I'm going to be in Dallas, wherever you are. And you have that map, right? You have those leads in that area. And now that's going to be your target area for that particular morning or that particular afternoon. Any questions? Carolyn, Robin, any questions, or anybody?
I have another question.
Yeah.
Another question.
No, I mean, questions are
Okay.
good. That's how we learn.
Okay. So would you say like, um, doing phone calls, maybe obviously if you're calling every day, because when we were in training, we pretty much learned, mainly how to do, phone calls, right? So, would you say how many do we have to do the phone calls a day to kind of balance out what you would get in the field on those 20 prospects?
I mean, our gold standard is 250 dials per week.
Okay.
But to be honest with you, you want to mix it up, right? You don't want to just phone call all day every day, because can you do it? Yes. And trust me, I love using the phone. In South Texas, where I came from, if you think it gets hot here during the summertime, try going into South Texas. Like, it is hot, right? And so I literally, when I started Aflac, it was like right in the middle of summer, like it was in June. And so I got really good at making phone calls, but sometimes you just got to mix it up, right? You can't just phone calls. It's got to be a little bit of both, right? Because you're gonna do approaches, and then you got to follow up over the phone, right? Or sometimes what I used to do is I used to use the phone to set up my follow up, right? So I will call and I'd say, good morning, who am I speaking with? And the receptionist tell me, oh, well, this is Robin. Hey, Robin, my name is Renee. I'm a benefits advisor with Aflac. I was just looking to see who I could speak to that handles employee benefits, right? And so now I have her name. I'm getting all the information, right? So now, maybe she tell I ask her, hey, so by the way, Robin, how many employees do you guys have there at your company? And she tells me, oh, well, we have about 100 employees. Well, ding, ding, ding. Right now that lead, I'm gonna separate it, because now that one's a good one that I can go visit in person, right? And so I use the phone to set up my approaches, right? And then now when I go visit that particular lead that has 100 employees, well, now I'm doing all my in-person initial approaches on that area. And so you just kind of have to be able to do both, right? They both have advantages, disadvantages. If I'm visiting in person, I have a better chance to schedule a meeting because I'm in person, right? They literally right in front of them, right? And so approaches is always going to be the best way to schedule meetings. But there's also disadvantages, right? You got to spend gas money. Again, in summertime, it gets really hot, right? And so you have to, those are the disadvantages. Phone calls, the disadvantage is that it's easy for somebody just to hang up the phone, right? They don't have to give me any information. They don't know who I am. I'm not in front of them. They can literally just click, and that's it. The advantage of phone calls is that, again, you're not spending gas, you're not doing all of that. And you might do 20 approaches in 2 hours. I can make 100 phone calls in 2 hours. And so you can make up in numbers over here, but you want to get good at both, right? You want to get good at both. And so for me, I used to use the phone to set up my follow-ups, and then my follow-ups would lead to in-person approaches. And so you just kind of have to figure out what works best for you. But at the end of the day, it's a contact sport, right? Are you making, I don't care if it's phone or if it's in person, are you giving yourself enough opportunities to schedule meetings? And for most agents, that's where they get hung up, right? They're not putting in enough contacts every single day to give themselves a chance. And so if you're not doing that, then what are you doing, right? How are you going to make a career out of this if you're not doing the basic stuff, which is calling on prospects, right? We've talked about green time, yellow time, red time, right? What is your green time, yellow time, red time, right? Green time, as we've mentioned before, it's talking to people, whether it's talking to people to schedule an initial meeting, whether it's talking to people because you're following up, if it's talking to people because you're in an actual DM presentation, you're talking to people because you're in the enrollment part, you're talking to people because you're networking or you're obtaining referrals. But green time means talking to people that can get you closer to the sale. And so if you're not prospecting and you're not presenting and enrolling, then what are we doing with our time, right? We talk about, the Aflac, right? You have the opportunity to have your own schedule and do all of those things. And it is true, right? You have the opportunity to work when you want to work. And not work when you don't want to work. But if you're not disciplining yourself to, because you're not punching a clock, right? You're not working 9 to 5, but you need to treat it like you are working 9 to 5. And so if you think about your day, how much of your day do you spend on green time? How much time is that, right? Is it an hour, 2 hours? Well, what are you doing with the rest of your time, right? How do you expect to do this full time if you're not putting in full-time work? And so you have to be able to you have to be able to get the green time. And so whether that's on the phone, in person, as long as you have a plan and you're executing on your daily number, then you're good. And so what does that look like for you, right? And so when you guys come to onboarding with me, I often talk to you guys about keeping track of your numbers, right? And so if you're keeping track of your numbers, what's going to happen is that pretty soon you're going to start to figure out, okay, how many approaches do I have to do to schedule a meeting, right? How many phone calls do I have to do to schedule a meeting over the phone? And so now that kind of gives you an idea of what your target should be, right? If you haven't done the exercise in your success binder, there's a income planner on there, right? So what do you want your income to look like? How much do you want to make per week? How much do you want to make per month, right? Because now, especially once you know your number, now you can start to reverse engineer that. Right now, okay, well, every single week I need to schedule 5 appointments to get me to my income goal, right? General rule of thumb, what we always do is for a full-time agent, we shoot for 5 meetings per week. 5 meetings per week, because 5 is going to get you in front of 3 business owners or 3 decision makers, and one of those will turn into an account, right? But if you start keeping track of that, now you know what that is just a basic number, right? It's an average, right? But maybe for you, it takes you I don't know, 8 meetings to get an account, right? Whatever that number looks like for you, it's okay, right? As long as you know your number. And so, but general rule of thumb, 5 appointments is going to get you in front of 3 decision makers. And if you can get in front of 3 true decision makers, you'll open 1 account, right? And next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about what that actual presentation looks like. But for now, if you can't prospect properly, then you're not even going to get those opportunities, right? And so right now, you might be scheduling 1 or 2 meetings per week. Well, that's okay, right? Now you know that you're going to have to increase your activity to eventually get you to your 5. And by the way, 5 meetings get you in front of 3 people. Why? Because people are going to cancel on you, right? People are going to no-show. They're going to forget that you're coming in. And so, but if you can schedule 5, you'll get in front of at least 3, right? If you're scheduling the meeting correctly, right? It's not, oh, well, Robin, come on Tuesday at any time, right? It's got to be you got to nail down a time, right? And so that if you're nailing down a time, 5 appointments should get you at least in front of 3 decision makers. Any other questions? Anybody? Carolyn, question? You're muted, FYI.
I just said I can't think of anything.
Oh, okay.
I don't have any questions.
Yeah, and so again, so we talk about the gold standard, right? 100 approaches per week. What does that look like? What does that look like for you? And guys, 100 approaches per week, 20 per day. That honestly, that is super easy to do. I mean, if you're planning and preparing, that is, there's nothing stopping you from doing 40 approaches per day. How bad do you want to make this happen, right? How bad do you want to make this happen, right? That is the business that you're in. You're in the business of interrupting people's day. And so, but you're interrupting people's day because you have a value proposition that helps people, right? We've talked about the cancer policy, right? We've talked about the accident policy. We've talked about how testimonies, right, of people who it's helped and people who wish they had it. We know all of that, right? And so when you go in there, you go in with that mindset that I'm trying to help you, right? I'm not here out of, I'm here because I want to help you. And so if you go in there with that approach, then you won't take it personal, right? Because if your goal is to help somebody with your products and services, then why are you going to be afraid to talk to people, right? And so but at the end of the day, it's a numbers game, right? We can go into the products, we can go into why and all of that, but if you're not having the activity on a daily basis that you need, then none of that stuff matters, right? None of the other part of the sales cycle matters, because you're not going to get in front of enough decision makers, you're not going to get enrollments, and number 5, service your account. Well, you don't have any accounts, right? And so if you're going to be a professional at this, it's got to start there with your activity, right? And just treat it like you're not punching a clock, but treat it like you are, right? Your job every single day, your job duties every single day is to talk to people. That's it, to talk to people. If you can do that consistently, you will start to get results, right? Because as you're prospecting and talking to people, now you begin to adjust, right? Going back to your question, Robert, do we say benefits? Do we not say benefits? I mean, you're going to figure out what works for you, right? But that happens by actually doing the activity, right? And a lot of people want to get everything in order, and I want to learn my scripts, and I want to learn the products, and I want to make sure that everything is in order, and they never do the green time, right? I want to make sure that I know about the accident policy and the cancer policy. Well, that's great, but if you don't prospect and schedule meetings, then what is it good for, right? Nobody's going to know about your products and services because you can't get in front of anybody. And so as you're prospecting, your skills are going to improve. You're going to get better. Your confidence is going to get better. One of the worst things that you can do in this business is have inconsistency, because what happens is, if I go prospect on a Monday and I do, I get to my 20 or whatever number is your target, and then I don't prospect for 2 or 3 days, when I go prospect again on Thursday, it's hard to get it going again, because now, you don't have any momentum. And I tell you, because I've been doing this long enough, like literally, if I don't prospect for a while, like if I were to go a week or 2 weeks without calling on a prospect, when I go back, even though I know my scripts, even though I've been doing this, I've had success, I know what that looks like, it's still hard for me to make that first phone call, because I don't have any momentum. But but you might have noticed this, right? That first door is often the hardest one. Once you go into that first door, the second one, it's like, you know what, this is easier. Once you get to like your 5th, your 20th, your 25th, it's like, you want to go in everywhere because you don't care anymore, right? You're already in momentum, right? You have it going. But it's always that first one that's the most difficult. And so if you're not consistent, right, it's going to be hard for you to stop and get it started again. Stop, get it started again. And so you want to be consistent. And so just think about, what are your job duties here, right? Wherever you worked previously, right? Robin, Carolyn, you guys worked. You guys were in the mortgage business before, right? You had job duties. What were your job duties, right? You were getting, I don't know, maybe hourly or salary pay, and you were expected to do your job. Well, it's no different here, right? You have a job to do. The only difference here is that the job duties here are going to get you to where you want to go, right? Whatever your goal is, whatever this vehicle was, wherever you wanted this vehicle to take you, you're in control of that. But you have to do your job duties. You have to treat it like, even though you're not punching a clock, you have to treat it like you're punching a clock, but you're punching the clock for you, right? You're not punching a clock for a business owner or somebody else. You're literally building your own business, right? And so be accountable to yourself. We're a little bit over an hour here. Any other questions? Let me look at the chat box real quick. That's right, Dean. Massive prospecting cures everything. I like Dean. He always does bullet points, right? It might be good to get this in writing. So, Mike, I'm not sure if you're referring to the scripts or to the entire training, but either we're recording the training so you can go back, And if you don't, you have scripts in your binder, and if you don't, just email me and I can get that to you. Anything else?
Are you gonna email us the this Zoom? You know, because I missed the first like 15 minutes of it.
Yes. So I'm gonna send you guys the link. I'm not marketing myself, but if you go to YouTube, maybe I
You
am
have a
marketing
YouTube set
myself,
up?
right? I'm not trying to sell you anything here, but if you come to YouTube and you literally put in my and you could follow me on here. You're gonna see the I'm recording these and I'm building a library. So if I come in here, well, actually, it's right there. Look, so the first one's on there from last week. I'm gonna upload this one, and you guys will have access to it on this playlist. So it's my it's called Leadership Academy. So you can go on there. But yeah, I'll email it to you guys with the link. That way, you just literally click on it. It's gonna take you in here. So again, so just to kind of recap here to close this out. So we talked about planning and steps 1 and 2, right? Planning and preparing prospect. Right now, this is what you want to get good at, right? The meetings, you're going to learn how to run the DM presentations. Enrollments, as I've mentioned before, that's the easiest part of what we do. But if you can't create opportunities for yourself, then it's going to be hard for you to have success in this business, right? Because that's where it all starts. It's planning, preparing, and prospecting. Green time, talking to people every single day about the opportunity in what you do, right? And so you got to get good at that, and you get good at that by doing it, right? These trainings are helpful in that it gives you insight as to how to do things, but you got to go out there and do them. You got to go out there and talk to people, right? And so we went over steps 1 and 2. Next, the next one that we do next Friday, I'll talk more about what does that actual decision maker meeting sound like. You know, what is that edge? How do we use that edge model to be able to have an effective presentation? We're running out of time here, but we also have a site setter that I'm going to share with you guys as well, that you guys can use. Let me see here. So if you don't know what a site setter, it's literally pages that you can use for your presentation. Like we have, you can have a hard copy, or you could put it on your tablet or your computer. And literally it'll help you in keeping track, right? So like literally it has all the pages to the presentation. So when you're presenting, you already have it there, right? Because a lot of times you go when you go into those DM meetings, you know, it's you don't know where to start, you don't know what to say. That site setter will literally have like slides, right? So you know exactly, you can practice and you know exactly what to say. So I'm going to walk you guys through that as well here on Friday. So all right, so if there's no more questions, I will get you guys this link. If you don't have the scripts, shoot me an email and I will email you the scripts as well. Or anything that you saw on today's for my slides, any questions that you guys have on that, just shoot me an email or text me and I can get you that information as well. So thank you guys. Have a amazing weekend. Have a great evening and a great weekend. Monday we're gonna have it's gonna be a little bit different. Hopefully all of you guys have seen the invitation. We're gonna do our Monday morning mastermind at a restaurant that's right here nearby. I think it's called the Real Cafe Restaurant. For those of you who don't know, there's an insight meeting that Aflac headquarters is doing on Monday. It's a virtual meeting, and so we're gonna have our meeting first, and then we literally have a TV there where we're gonna watch that insight meeting, and we'll have breakfast and that'll be on Monday at 8:45. So hopefully you guys already got the invitation. If not, I will resend it out to you guys. But y'all have a great weekend and we will see you on Monday morning. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all.